Thank you.
What an amazing program. This is what I love about CSU Inspire, is that we're so large, we don't always get to hear about the great work we're doing just down the street or down the hall. And so this is an opportunity and an engaging way to hear about the really great opportunities that we offer to the students we have at CSU. So thank you so much, Dee Dee. That is a phenomenal program. So next up, we have Robert Franklin II, not to be confused with Robert Franklin I. I have had the opportunity to work with Robert over the last few years with Extension, and I have been consistently impressed by the amount of community engagement that our Extension agents get out and do. I am always impressed with them, and I'm impressed with their work so much that I think we need to bring it back here and support them and recognize what they do out in the community. If you talk about a group that needs to be aware about the changing demographics of the state, it is Extension agents, and I'm happy to partner with them as we continue to build multicultural competency. So today we have Robert Franklin II, who's joined us from Denver in the 4-H program. So Robert is a member of the Colorado State University Extension team in Denver. Robert Franklin works with a team of educators and leaders to create unique experiences in positive youth development with thousands of kids, families, and volunteers. Those experiences include experiential learning activities, leadership and exchange trips, training youth-involved staff and volunteers, and engagement in programming strategies, and much, much more. Robert is the creator of several self-awareness, diversity, and inclusivity-related trainings and campaigns, having worked with hundreds of youth and adults on how their own lives impact those around them. So with that, it is my pleasure to welcome Robert Franklin.
Okay, are we on? We are? Are we on? We are. Good afternoon. How in the world did a 4-H agent end up on this stage with these people? I'm not really sure. Have you ever heard of 4-H? Hands in the air. Whoa, look at that. So you're probably thinking, right, this guy deals with cows and chickens and county fair. He wore his cowboy boots to this thing, right? Yeah, and it's from Extension. And what you might not know is that it's a youth development organization built on life skills. So since the 1900s, we 4-Hers have been teaching young people how to be the kind of adults that will contribute positively to their world. And the story also says that for probably the first 50, 60, 70 years, the kinds of kids we were dealing with are those of privilege, usually white kids. So a person like me, although I have snazzy boots, was not a part of the game in this youth development world that we call 4-H. One thing that has remained consistent is the life skill wheel. And actually, the wheel itself hasn't been around that long, but really the organization is built on teaching young people these life skills. And some of my favorites are there on the side: accepting differences, concern for others, responsible citizenship, critical thinking, community service, leadership skills, and social skills. So one of my favorite things to do is to take kids out and teach them this experientially. Right? We all know about experiential education in here, right? Yes? Okay, all right. I thought it was CSU. You might look at a picture of us during the Denver to Durango exchange, 10 to 12-year-olds, 10 from Denver, 10 from Durango, and go, yeah, that looks like fun. And you might also notice, like what Robert was saying, there's a case for diversity and inclusion in there. There aren't that many diverse audiences being represented in that picture. You'd be right. But what aren't you seeing? What don't you see that's happening in here is what I really want to talk about. There's more than meets the eye on these exchange trips. And so here at Mountain to Metro, that's our Mountain to Metro adventure, so same deal. Kids from the mountains, kids from the metro area coming together to go to historical or geological experiences. They meet with people who are important in Colorado history, things of that nature, right? They come together. But still, you look and you're like, well, Robert, those are a bunch of white kids. What's going on there? Thought we were talking about diversity and inclusion today. What's up with that? Well, these exchange trips help to serve that purpose, that cause for diversity and inclusion. It's not just where they are, but what they're doing and what we are doing on these trips with these young people. Remember those life skills that I was talking about earlier. Think back when you were 10 or even 15. right? What if you showed up with 19 other people you'd never met, and instead of playing a game like tug of war or dodgeball on the side of a mountain, someone handed you the tug of peace rope, right? Like you just met these people. They don't look anything like you, and you're in a place unfamiliar to you, and now you're talking about peace with people from different backgrounds, with people who look different than you, who don't have your same experience. So you might not see a whole bunch of different colors skin, but you are getting different experiences. What about the first time you rode public transportation? Did you make a connection with somebody who was not a part of your people on purpose? Probably not. No. But these kids ride the RTD downtown Denver or from the south side to the north side on purpose so that they can meet not only the people who are on the buses, not only the people who have that as their only means of transportation, but they meet each other and they have a similar experience. Wow, it really stinks in here. What's going on? Well, I'm feeling it the same way you are, but you're not from a place where you have to ride the bus, and neither am I. Because I'm in Denver, I have access to the Denver mayor. What's really crazy is I took light-skinned, very privileged children to the State of the City address this summer in a predominantly black neighborhood that's experiencing gentrification, and they stood up with that mayor talking about the issues that were going on in that community. They're not from that community, but they care about that community now because of the experience that we had on this particular trip. Because he cares, the mayor happens to care so much about youth in our community. And they're not all from his community, but they were there. They got to experience it. A lot of people were jealous because they got that picture. These 30 kids, they were in a cultural center on the southwest side of Denver, and we went into a neveria just at the end of the day. It was a hot summer day, and so we were going in there. I kid you not, these kids will never, ever, ever ask for ice cream again without remembering the words paleta and por favor. Because they went to an ice cream shop where no one spoke English. They do, but the people they had to ask for something for didn't. They were the minority. Minds blown, right? And so we continued to do that in Little Saigon. I had a speech with this group of kids about you are the minority here. You are the ones who are going to get the side eye. You are the ones who are going to be followed in the store. Not because of how old you are, but because you're an outsider. Kid says, well, none of these people speak English? Well, they might, but they don't have to in this space. What's interesting about these kids is that now they go, wait, so it might be hard, like when I was on the scavenger hunt, it might be hard to get what you need if you don't speak the language in the space. Now when we start talking about immigration and difference and things of that nature, of people who are different than us, we might think differently. These kids might think differently. Shiprock Monument, New Mexico, we were given access, such great access because of these exchange trips, to sacred lands. We did not go on to Shiprock Monument, I will tell you, but our youth developers who are Dene in that space took our teenagers and showed them what it's like to be an outsider in your own land. To be able to have to tell people, don't go on that rock even though it's a tourist attraction, because our ancestors believe something very powerful happened there, right? These kids experienced life through the eyes of someone else who gave them access that you can't just get by driving down to the Four Corners. We are interested in ag. And so it's interesting to be learning about how farm to table works when your farm is somebody else's land. But it wasn't when it began. Trying to navigate agriculture and water and food to your family when the government keeps you from being able to do so is the questions, or the part of the questions that these kids are answering. They're learning about. And some of these kids, that's their backyard. Diversity and inclusion happens in these trips because we can have real conversations about real issues with people who are different from us and have that difference on the outside and on the inside. We don't often think of 4-H as a place for diversity and inclusion, and as a matter of fact, nationally, we're trying to change that fact. Not just with the black guy standing in front of you, but with the experiences that we give the young people who are with us. This list is real. No matter what the trip is, if they're talking and having courageous conversations about these things, right? Then we are building something that can last a lifetime. Thanks.